Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. I appreciate you being with me so very much. Hey, before I get started on my video this morning, let me remind you, time's running out for you to take advantage of the very special introductory price on my brand new book, The Death of Adam, The Life of Christ. Let me say again, I'm just so gratified. I am so thankful for the wonderful response to the introduction of this new book. I believe it has been accepted, and I've received more orders for this book upon its introduction than any other book. I mean, it has really been accepted well, and I do appreciate that so very, very much. The regular price for the book will be $19.95 plus $4.95 shipping. However, until the end of October 2019, total delivered price, no extras, no shipping and handling, total delivered price, $17.95. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. There's a banner right up at the very top of the page. Just click on it, shows you how to order, and be sure to say that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook. Now, again, I cannot make this special offer to overseas or out of country, out of U.S. orders, okay? Shipping is just too exorbitant to do that. However, if you'd like a PDF copy at a greatly reduced price, then we can make accommodations for that. So if that's what you would like to, in order to reduce your price, then get a hold of me through my website, and I'll be sure to accommodate. Well, in yesterday's video, as we continue our study of the Olivet Discourse, we've been focusing on the subject of the Great Tribulation. I've shared with you that the Great Tribulation will be a time of judgment on Israel. Folks, it would not be a judgment on the wider world. Okay? It would not be a judgment on America. Wouldn't be a judgment on South America. Would not be a judgment on China or Russia. The Great Tribulation would be focused on Jerusalem and the Jews for her violation of Torah. Once we get that fact firmly in our mind, then it destroys the entire dispensational paradigm. Folks, if there's no Great Tribulation in our future, I don't know about you, but that's some absolutely fantastic news. I really like that gospel. But you see, if there's no Great Tribulation, the house of dispensationalism falls to the ground. And by the way, if, as Gregory Beale claims, that the Great Tribulation has been ongoing since the first century, then that means that Israel has been undergoing God's judgment on her for violating Torah for 2,000 years. I don't believe Mr. Beale believes that. But that is what's necessitated by his view. Now, I've been spending a couple of videos now on Daniel chapter 12, which connects the time of the Great Tribulation with the resurrection. And while there's a whole lot more between Daniel chapter 12, verse 2 and verse 7 that we could focus on and discuss for weeks and weeks, I read to you yesterday. I shared with you yesterday how verse 6 and verse 7, one angel asks another, when will these things, when will these wonders be fulfilled? And the other angel, standing on land and sea, lifting his hands to heaven and swearing by him who lives forever and ever, said, have you read it? I mean, have you really gone there and read it? Have you let it soak in? Have you caught the power of Daniel chapter 12, verse 7? It shall be for a time, times and a half time, when the power of the holy people has been completely shattered, all, once again, not a little bit, not some, not even most, but all of these things will be fulfilled. All we have to do at this point, folks, catch the pun, all we have to do, all that we have to do is to ask ourselves the question, who are the holy people? Well, they're Daniel's people. Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. That means it's Old Covenant Israel. It's not the church of the Lord. It's Israel's Old Covenant people. Okay? Second question that we have to settle is, what is the power of the holy people? I'll never forget I was teaching through Daniel in class one time, and I pointed out the resurrection would be when the power of the holy people would be completely shattered. And this one sweet lady, bless her heart, she was just a wonderful lady. She spoke up and said, "That cannot be." And I said, "Well, why can't it be?" And she said, "The resurrection is at the end of the Christian age." Those were her words. And I said, "Well, let me ask you a question. What is the power of the holy people?" And I said, "Who are the holy people?" And she said, "It's the church." And I said, "Okay, what is the power of the holy people?" And she said, "It's the gospel." And I said, "Well, ma'am, bless your heart." And I loved her. I mean, she's such a sweet lady. I said, "If that's true, then Daniel's predicting the resurrection at the time in which the church, the body of Christ, the kingdom of the Lord, and the gospel, which is the power of God to salvation, Romans 1:16, will be completely shattered." Now let me see. Daniel chapter 2, 28 to 45, predicted the establishment of the everlasting kingdom that will never be destroyed. In other words, never be shattered. And that would be done in the days of the Roman Empire. Daniel chapter 7, 13 and 14. "The one like unto the Son of Man came before the Ancient of Days, and there was given to him a kingdom, a power, a dominion, and authority that shall never be destroyed." What did Jesus say about his word, the gospel? It shall never pass away. What did the writer of Hebrews say about the kingdom of Christ that was being delivered in the first century? "Wherefore we, receiving," a present participle, "a kingdom that cannot be shaken," can't be removed, can't be shattered. So unless you're willing to affirm that the body of Christ and the gospel of Christ will be destroyed at the end of human history, which the Bible doesn't even talk about, then Daniel chapter 12 is not talking about a resurrection at the end of human history. And oh, by the way, since Daniel 1 and Daniel 2, 12, 1 and 2, are connected in the Hebrew and the Greek, you can't have the Great Tribulation in the time of Antiochus Epiphanes and the resurrection at the end of human history. If there's no such thing as the end of human history, there is no future resurrection, per the futurist views. And so once again, when we see the connection between the Great Tribulation and the resurrection, and we see that Jesus put the Great Tribulation in the first century, that means the Olivet Discourse is fulfilled, every bit of it. You cannot divide it. It does not talk about first century events and end of history events. You cannot divide the Olivet Discourse. And you can't put the resurrection at the end of the Christian age unless you're willing, number one, to affirm the end of the gospel. Number two, the end of the church, i.e. the kingdom of Christ, or unless you're able to determine and to definitively prove, as we've already illustrated, that there is in fact a 2,500-year gap of time between Daniel 12:1 and Daniel 12:2. Well, there's not a gap. Therefore, The Great Tribulation, being in the first century, demands that the resurrection was in the first century. And that means the Olivet Discourse is not a divided discourse. Remember now, in my book, The Resurrection of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 2, fulfilled in future, I prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the connection between the Great Tribulation and the resurrection. And I prove that the Great Tribulation was a time of judgment on Jerusalem and the Jews in AD 70. Get yourself a copy of this book. Go to my website, order the book. Be sure to include a note that says you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll pay your shipping. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this morning's morning musings. Tomorrow, I'll continue, and I'll try to start drawing down to a close our response and refutation to Sam Frost's book, The Parousia of the Son of Man. I'll see you on the flip side.